"We are in the most critical moment in Israel's history," Netanyahu said after deciding to launch a strike against Iran. For Israel, which has gone through 6 major wars in its 77-year history, the opponent this time is undoubtedly the strongest. After this battle, the Jews will either become a rising lion in the Middle East or continue the legend of wandering. Can Netanyahu win this gamble? The battle began when the Iranians were completely unprepared. Israeli warplanes launched a long-range strike from over 1,000 kilometers away, achieving a feat never seen before in the history of warfare, virtually wiping out the Iranian military's top brass. Iran's counterattack was equally swift, with more than 400 missiles accurately bombarding Israel, inflicting the heaviest blows since Israel's founding. Although both Israel and Iran have suffered heavy losses, neither side shows any sign of stopping so far. From a tactical perspective, Israel's assassinations and airstrikes have nearly destroyed Iran's military command system, significantly weakening the organizational and coordination capabilities of the Iranian armed forces and the Revolutionary Guard Corps. The killing of 9 nuclear scientists and the destruction of the Natanz nuclear facility have dealt a heavy blow to Iran's nuclear program, which has been painstakingly developed for decades. Moreover, Iran's inherently insufficient air defense system has been sabotaged by Mossad agents who infiltrated every nook and cranny. An Israeli military spokesperson stated that IDF fighter jets can fly freely over Tehran, indicating that Israel has completed the first phase of its combat plan. Does this mean that Israel can smoothly achieve its short-term goals and then reach its ultimate strategic objectives? Since its establishment in the Middle East, Israel has always been committed to solving the problem of survival. First, it has been continuously expanding its territory to meet the land needs brought about by population growth. Second, it aims to eliminate all external forces that may endanger its security and break the curse of the Jewish people's 1,000-year wandering. In 1948, the UN Partition Resolution delimited Israel's territory to be 15,200 square kilometers. At that time, Israel had a population of about 810,000. Today, Israel actually controls approximately 25,000 square kilometers of territory, a 64.5% increase from its legally defined area at the time of its founding. The population has reached 10,094,000, a 12.5-fold increase from the founding period. Ben-Gurion, the first prime minister of Israel, once publicly stated that increasing the birth rate is a matter of life and death for Israel. Because for a nation to grow and thrive, it must have a sufficient population to engage in production and defense. In fact, Israel currently has the highest fertility rate and the fastest population growth among all developed countries. However, rapid population growth means a continuous expansion of demand for land resources. Most of Israel's territory consists of mountains and deserts, with scarce natural resources, especially fresh water. It is one of the most water-scarce countries in the world. For Jews who consider themselves the chosen people, such a reality is undoubtedly unacceptable. Therefore, they have been encroaching on Palestinian territories by expanding settlements, turning illegal occupations into established facts through wars. Meanwhile, they have also annexed the Golan Heights in Syria, known as the Water Tower of the Middle East. Under such organized and premeditated encroachment, Israel has become what it is today. However, the price of such frenzied expansion is steep. Arab neighbors, who initially opposed Israel's re-establishment, have regarded it as an enemy after repeated military defeats. Relying on its strong economic and military might, as well as U.S. support, Israel has not only ignored neighbors' protests but also used their hostility as a pretext for further expansion. In 2023, the Palestinian Hamas, driven into a corner, launched the Aqsa flood operation. It is said that Israel had already obtained Hamas' battle plan in advance, but did not prevent it. In Netanyahu's view, this operation by Hamas was nothing more than an opportunity for Israel to expand its territory again. However, the war has developed beyond Israel's expectations. Not only has it failed to quickly defeat Hamas, but it has also fallen into a dilemma of multi-front combat. The Lebanese Hezbollah and the Yemeni Houthi rebels have also joined the ranks of strikes against Israel. The three forces have caused considerable damage to the Israeli army through guerrilla warfare. Moreover, the Houthi rebels' blockade of the Red Sea with missiles and drones has severely hit Israel's economy. As a regional power in the Middle East, Israel's economy is dominated by industrial manufacturing and high-tech industries, relying heavily on external upstream and downstream industrial chains. Due to tense geopolitics, Israel mainly completes import and export trade through Mediterranean shipping. The Houthi rebels' blockade of the Red Sea's entrances and exits is equivalent to choking Israel's lifeline. Since the war began, Israel's core industries have suffered devastating blows. The tourism industry has collapsed, supply chains have broken down, and large-scale foreign capital has withdrawn. Rising energy and livelihood costs, as well as skyrocketing military expenditures, have caused a surge in fiscal deficits and debt pressure. This is clearly the most severe crisis Israel has ever faced. The prolonged war of the axis of resistance has also shattered the myth of the Israeli army's invincibility. Economic hardships coupled with military setbacks have continued to fuel public anger in Israel. Some citizens have begun to question the war's significance, calling on the government to reconcile with opponents as soon as possible, while far-right forces demand a complete eradication of Hamas. For Netanyahu, with the situation developing to this point, whether the war is won or lost no longer holds any meaning. How to make up for the losses has become the top priority. Therefore, when countries around the world called for Israel to cease fire, Netanyahu remained indifferent. In his view, the land vacated by driving out the Palestinians can just provide an explanation to all citizens. However, Israel's atrocities have triggered revulsion worldwide. Traditional European allies have also stood against Israel. Even Germany, which has always harbored a sense of guilt toward Israel, has begun to ban arms exports to Israel. Netanyahu's actions have severely damaged Israel's international image, and the calls for his resignation from domestic opposition forces are growing louder. Moreover, he himself is still facing several pending corruption charges. All of this has made this political strongman feel extremely anxious. He must transfer contradictions through external toughness, and striking Iran is undoubtedly the best option. By doing so, he can not only demonstrate his determination to safeguard national security but also please the domestic hawkish forces. It can also eliminate the supporting forces behind the axis of resistance. The most important point is that once Iran possesses nuclear weapons, it will pose the greatest threat to Israel, because Israel's territory is too small to have a strategic depth. And Iran has a vast territory. Even if some areas are damaged, there is still a large amount of land for Iranians to live on. More importantly, the current Iranian regime's hostility towards Israel has taken root, so Netanyahu is bound to clear this potential threat. In addition, striking Iran's nuclear facilities and continuing the state of war also meet Netanyahu's personal needs. Because only in this way can he retain the position of prime minister and have enough time to make arrangements for his own future. However, the war initiated by Israel is undoubtedly a gamble. In reality, although Iran's economy is indeed backward and its military strength is not very strong, it far surpasses Israel in missiles and drones, which are exactly the magic weapons to defeat the enemy in modern warfare. Although Israel has long built a three-dimensional air defense network of long, medium and short ranges, the success rate of anti-missile interception is far lower than expected, and the cost of air defense interception is high. A single interceptor missile of the Iron Dome system costs as much as $3 million. In the past few days, Israel has spent more than $300 million every night on air defense interception. Such high-intensity consumption cannot be sustained by Israel, let alone the wealthy United States. And Iran's hypersonic missiles have become a daunting challenge that leaves both the U.S. and Israel helpless. Now that Iran has adopted a strategy of prolonged warfare to drain Israel's resources, how should Israel respond? According to Netanyahu's plan, while the Israeli Air Force launches airstrikes, agents who have infiltrated Iran in advance will not only carry out assassination attempts against senior Revolutionary Guard commanders but also assist in disabling Iran's air defense systems. The Air Force's primary mission is to strike Iran's nuclear facilities and key military bases. By significantly weakening Iran's resistance in the early stage, Israel can launch more precise airstrikes in the later phase. Additionally, assassinations and surprise attacks that cause heavy casualties among Iranians are intended to provoke their anger, ensuring Iran will retaliate. Once Israel's losses reach a certain threshold, Jewish financial groups in the U.S. and the officials they support will pressure the Trump administration to intervene militarily. The war between Israel and Iran. We can simply regard Netanyahu's actions as a bitter trick. For they know Israel cannot defeat Iran. Only by this means can they force the U.S. military to intervene. Even before the war started, Trump had repeatedly stressed that he was unwilling to strike Iran militarily or support Israel. On the one hand, Trump still hoped to reach an agreement with Iran through negotiations. On the other hand, during the U.S. military strikes against Houthi rebels in the Red Sea, the deployment of aircraft carriers and bombers cost over $1 billion, yet failed to achieve the desired results. Eventually, the U.S. had to compromise and cease fire. The Houthis, a local armed group, were able to withstand the U.S. military's intensive airstrikes and even retaliate. If it were the stronger Iran, the U.S. military would likely fall into another prolonged war of attrition. The Trump administration was well aware that the U.S. military was currently in a dilemma of lacking both equipment and funds. If it recklessly initiated a new war, the outcome might be worse than the Red Sea debacle. Moreover, multiple U.S. military bases in the Middle East lie within the strike range of Iran's short-range missiles. If the U.S. military participates in airstrikes, Iran will definitely retaliate. But if the U.S. military does not participate, Israel simply lacks the capability to destroy Iran's nuclear facilities buried deep underground. Therefore, the Trump administration needs to weigh the pros and cons. However, in my view, joint U.S. Israeli strikes will only strengthen Iran's determination to acquire nuclear weapons. Even if they destroy all of Iran's nuclear facilities this time, Iran will find ways to rebuild and resume its program in the future. In fact, nuclear technology does not have an excessively high threshold, and Iran's uranium enrichment level has reached 60%, just one step away from manufacturing nuclear weapons. In this context, Israel's continued use of force against Iran can only be described as unwise. The issue in the Gaza Strip has not been resolved, and now it is provoking hatred among Iranians. In the end, it may still return to the old path of wandering. Moreover, Israel has planted a time bomb beside itself, Syria. After the collapse of the Assad regime, Israel destroyed all of Syria's military equipment to eliminate hidden dangers. Jalani, the current leader of Syria, has also stated that they are now incapable of waging a second war with Israel. However, Jalani's parents are from the Syrian Golan Heights, and the name Jalani means Golan resident in Arabic. It is clear that Jalani will never allow Israel to forcibly occupy the Syrian Golan Heights. He is not taking action now only because of insufficient strength. Once the time is ripe, Jalani will definitely take action to reclaim his hometown. Moreover, Jalani was able to rise from an extremist organization and eventually become the leader of Syria, which shows that he is a smart person who knows how to be patient. He also has no shortage of ability and means. The most critical point is that he is only 43 years old. As long as he can secure his current position and gradually restore Syria's economy. Maybe in 10, 20, or even 30 years, we can't say for sure that Jalani will definitely take back what belongs to the Syrian people, but the fuse of war has obviously been laid. This is beyond doubt. He has enough time to do this. If Israel loses the protection of the United States, then this day may come faster. What do you all think about this? Welcome to leave your comments and discuss in the comment section.